From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is the Midday Report on LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LA, direct from Santa Monica, California, with incredible news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. A vote will be happening next week as a House deal is done, Nancy Pelosi confirms. This is as the Congressional Budget Office report is not released and will likely not be released by next week. But Nancy Pelosi, in incredible great news, says that the vote will be happening next week and we will be done with the House. Amen. Off to the Senate we go. The incredible recon that will pay you about $15,000 across all these incredible programs collectively. Before we get to the Senate, that could make it even higher with more checks. I'll show you in this recording how to get this incredible sums of money. Then we turn to fifth stimulus and student loan debt forgiveness. Student loan debt forgiveness could be forgiven with $10,000 across the board. I have those details in this recording. And then we turn to COLA raise and fifth stimulus as new inflationary numbers release, and they were not good. This is why fifth stimulus is needed for my seniors and my people on disabilities. It's a big, bold, beautiful broadcast. I'll have my commentary later in this video to go over what I think is going on with inflation, the stimulus packages, and whether they're related or not, and what the president is doing to address the situation. It's all breaking news with a major vote now set, a deal, and no CBO report. It's all breaking. It's all great with big sums of money you can get for this incredible recon. The breaking news right now at noontime. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day. And jump in the live chat and tell me where you're tuning in from and how the weather is. Well, here we go. A deal has been reached on the House recon. We will be done with the House and the recon. A final vote next week. It's confirmed by Nancy Pelosi in new statements you're going to see for the first time at noontime. The CBO report will not be available by the end of next week. We're now seeing, and this is great news. Nancy Pelosi is not holding the vote for the report. She says the agreement did not call for the report to be done by next week. I am excited across the board. The programs are huge. They're going to pay you about $15,000 across all these incredible programs, these many, many different types of checks. I'll show you how to get these incredible sums of money. As you got $45,000 from third stimulus, get ready to get at least $15,000 from fourth stimulus. Student loan debt forgiveness, more debt can be forgiven. I have all those details and more. And then we turn to the incredible money for fifth stimulus right behind that. Definitely needed. And you have my commentary coming up later in this video about the ceiling and the issue of that inflation. Where is inflation going? What the president is doing, what the president's not doing. It's a big, bold, beautiful broadcast. And it's noontime. And this, my friends, is LALATE, America's most talked about financial news channel in America. The only one recording this type of news with 16 shows per day, hundreds of hours of programming per week. The only channel of like this in America. The number one channel for finance covering stocks, the second one covering the economy, me and LALATE covering this. So I'm glad you found this channel and subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record, and 140 million views across the globe. Like this video, consider liking the video right now, and also become a member to get that incredible newsletter that comes out Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. that features the big money you can get in this recon. Let's go over the broad stroke of what this video is going to cover because it's going to have a lot of breaking news. We're going to first go over the incredible recon in general format, going over each of the three clusters of checks that pay you on average about $15,000 across all of them. Then, after the commercial break, we're going to go back over the breaking news from Nancy, the president, the CBO report. It's all breaking at noontime. And then we're going to go over each of those checks, answering your questions on air, going over eligibility, going over all the details of how you get each of those checks. And then we're going to go over student loan debt forgiveness, fifth stimulus, and then my commentary to wrap it up about those inflation numbers and the CPI report yesterday. The incredible news is that viewers of this channel got about an average of $45,000 under third stimulus. And now under fourth stimulus, you're going to get an average about $15,000 across all these incredible clusters of checks collectively. And those clusters of checks start with the first one right now. I'm going to go over the first clusters of checks. And if I say front end, it means it's a check that pays on the front end. If I say back end, it means it's a check that pays on the back end. Cluster number one, everything passed in that subcommittee of the House several weeks ago survived and will be in the House floor vote. Hazard pay, back-end check for my essential workers. One more year of that. $4,000 of elder care, front-end check, and $4,000 of care for young children. The Pels grant, $550 check front-end for my college students currently on Pels. Then money to repair the home if you're in a low-income community. It is a front-end check, and it's a deliciousness. Then they got the CTC, the child tax credit check. One more year, front-end, $3,600 or $3,000. And then they surprised us with a back-end check of $12,500 for the purchase price of a new electric vehicle, U.S. shop, and then 15% for the purchase of a new electric bike. There you go. The first add-on also got in there, and it's a big win for millions of Americans. It is money, front-end check, hard cold cash checks for the purchase of your first home. Wow. Maxine Waters want to give you $25,000. They did not get this price point, but they're going to get a different number, a little bit less. This is free money, hard cold cash checks, front end for the purchase price of your first home. Wow. Stay with me later in this video. I go over how to get this money, each and every check that pays you a lot across this incredible recon. Let's go to the second cluster of checks. Here we go. Paid leave and family leave, they got in there. That's thousands of dollars. They got in there pre-kindergarten, 1 year, front end check, community college out. They got in there also the household tax credit back end and weatherizing your check. Did I say weatherizing your check? No, weatherizing your home. Check. Check that off. Definitely need, especially if Kristen Sinema comes knocking at your door. Kristen, how'd you find my house? I was looking for Joe Manchin. You're not going to find him here. I weatherized my home. He's not allowed in. So there you go. The second add-on comes from Bob Casey, the wonderful senator from Pennsylvania. It's not a check, it's a covered benefit, and it's huge. It's free home health care. For my seniors and people on disabilities, he wanted $250. He got a little bit less. It's great. And yes, that's a covered benefit. I cover more about that later in this video. Let's go to the third add-on. Are you excited? I'm excited. These are great checks. Let's go to the third cluster of checks and see these. Free school meals for all, $65 checks per month per student. Great. Cheaper prescription medication. That is not a check, but a benefit. Immigration reform, a benefit. Farmers don't know the fate of that. Free internet, don't know the fate. Clean energy out. Workers don't know the fate of that. And then Medicare. We got many different items on that one. Let's go back on camera with those items. First, the Medicare expansion. They got that in there. I explained that later in this video. Dropping the eligibility of Medicare, not in there, taking care of it in the Senate. Also, dental and vision, Senate. Hearing got in there, though. Which brings us to the third add-on. Perfect timing, because guess what? Senate has a lot of work to do. Senators are saying, give me that recon, send it over, because we got a lot of stuff to add in there. And that is why that bill is coming out of the House next week over to the Senate. And that is where they can put in the MSC, monthly or multiple IRS stimulus check. We have the 6 senators who have said to the viewers of this channel over the last few weeks, thousands of them, that they would be doing this on the Senate side. The 2 C's, the 2 S's, and the 2 W's. Warren, Wyden, Coons, Casey, Sanders, Schumer. Take your time and do 2 per day to advocate. Pick up the phone and say, I need it. Remember, we're not donuts here. We're not saying, what day is it landing? No, that's donut talk. We're advocating. I need it because of this. 2 opportunities for the senators to take care of this and all the other stuff they got to do in this recon. 1, Vote-A-Rama. 2nd, subcommittee. Subcommittee is very important because it slows down the process and really fills up those gaps, as Bernie says, missing in this recon. Subcommittee, Senate Budget Committee. Barry is the chairman of it, and that's where they can add provisions in there to make a great recon really great. Other opportunity, Vote-A-Rama. It's a 2-day event at the very end of the whole process, 48 hours, in which the senators introduce changes or brand new concepts to the bill not taken care of by the House members. It is a very long-standing, great process called Vote-A-Rama. And under third stimulus, it was huge. It made the student loan debt forgiveness a non-taxable event, because before that, it was a taxable event. When $20,000 of student loan debts was forgiven for millions of Americans across the board, they had to pay $10,000 of taxes. Had it not been for the provision added by Chuck Schumer and Liz Warren during Votorama, they made it a tax-free event so they didn't have to pay that money. That is why you need to advocate. And then credible message from the #1 chief of staff to the viewers of this channel says, do not stop advocating. In fact, you need to pick up the advocating as soon as we go into that Senate, starting as early as next week. They now have a total between congressional and senators' offices received more contacts of advocacy from the LA Purple Power than the number of signatures in the American petition. Wow, 3 million. They have a better understanding of what Americans are going through because of the LA viewers. They have heartbreaking stories in the LA viewers. And they have the voice of the people in you, LA, as you have become too loud to be ignored. Please continue your encouragement for the continued advocacy as the professional voice of the people. You have become LA. And continue this until it becomes law. Very, very kind. You need to advocate. Have to pick up the phone and call the 2 C's, the 2 W's, and the 2 S's. Take 2 per day. One person, Ernesto, said yesterday he called 7, I think it was 6 or 7 people in one day. Great job. Casey Coons, Sanders Schumer, Warren Wyden. Because guess what? We're coming out of that house. We are done with that house next week. That is what Nancy Pelosi says in breaking news. You should be ecstatic. I'm ecstatic. She finally says the House vote will be next week. I have the latest details. This is as the Congressional Budget Office report will likely not be done by next week. But the first provisions of the CBO report I have for you at noontime in the second half of this video. The voting, yes, we will be going into that final voting, and Nancy Pelosi is holding her agreement. I'm excited for you. This House bill is huge. It's going to pay you across all these programs about $15,000 to start, but when it lands in the Senate, it will add more checks on there. And on top of that, I'll go over in the second half of this video how you get this money, get that pen and paper ready. Student loan debt forgiveness, more debt could be forgiven, and then fifth stimulus heating up, especially important in view of that consumer price index number released yesterday. I have that in my commentary in the second half of this video. Stay with me with a lot of breaking news, a lot of brand new stuff at noontime. I'm excited you're here. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now at noontime. As a deal is done on that recon, we got that vote on the House finishing next week. Wow. The voting is set. I have the latest details and latest comments for Nancy Pelosi at noontime for the first time on this channel. The Congressional Budget Office report not going to be done by next week, but not a problem for Nancy. We have the latest details at noontime. Then, the big exciting details is $15,000 across all these incredible recon programs. Yes, average viewer got $45,000 from third stimulus, but this recon will pay you a lot of those same checks and more, at least $15,000. Student loan debt forgiveness, more debt could be forgiven across the board. I have the latest details on that, and then we go into the exciting details of COLA. 5.9% going up next year, but you need fifth stimulus right after that. I have that, plus my commentary about what's going on with inflation and the president's reaction. Stay to the very end. We got a big broadcast, and this, my friends, is LALATE, America's most comprehensive and the most talked about financial news channel across the planet. Like this video, and consider becoming a member and get that newsletter tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Let's go into the dramatics and the breaking news starting right now. Nancy Pelosi gave us the statement we wanted, and we got it good. Last Friday, the Democrats made an agreement, moderate Democrats, that they would vote on the recon when a certain series of things happen. And what was that sentence, and who said it, and when was it said? Let's go over all the details. We have two bodies of legislation, roads and bridges, and also recon. But the moderate Democrats were causing issues about the recon. And so what did Nancy Pelosi do? Nancy Pelosi got the moderate Democrats to make an agreement. And that agreement was the following. We agree to vote in favor of the recon in its current form, barring no technical changes, as soon as the Congressional Budget Office's report is released, but no later than the week of November 15th. Over the last 2 days, I said, you know what? I know English language. I studied English in university. But you want to hope that everyone's reading the sentence the way an English major would read the sentence. The last part of the sentence goes last, and it says, but under no circumstances, no later than the week of November 15th. That is the last part of the sentence. So it overrides any element early in the sentence. And what does that mean? It means that if the Congressional Budget Office report is not available by the week of November 15th, you're still voting on it by the week of November 15th. That statement was voted into the congressional record and signed by the moderate Democrats who were causing an issue for the recon: Gothenheimer, Rice, Stephanie Murray, Kurt Schrader, and Ed Case. So what happened? A very, very good news reporter you want to add to your Christmas card list asked Nancy Pelosi the question of the hour. When in Scotland, Nancy Pelosi got this question from a U.S. reporter when attending the climate conference this week. When asked at COP26 UN climate summit in Scotland, Speaker Pelosi answered that even if the CBO report is not available next week, the vote will happen and will pass. We will indeed. That is our plan, to pass the bill the week of November 15th, as indicate our statements that we made at the time in the passing of the roads and bridges. So there you go. A deal has been reached. That was the language you wanted Pelosi to say, that the vote will be happening next week. Why was this really a big issue for me in the last 48 hours? Because the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office report, which is mentioned in that statement, will not be released next week in final format. The Congressional Budget Office, in a series of new statements you're hearing for the first time on this channel at noontime, said, we can't tell you when the whole report's going to be done. Over the past several months, we provided technical assistance to committees as they develop the proposals for the various parts of this bill. The analysis of this bill's many provisions are complicated, and the CBO will provide a cost estimate for the entire bill as soon as practical. That means that it's not available next week. What did they do today? They released the first parts of the bill. There were 5 of them: science, space, technology, small business, veterans administration. But when you look at the provisions that the part of the report they released today for those 5 parts, those 5 parts are in the millions of dollars. For example, small business only got $5 million in this recon. So it's very, very, very little. There's not billions of dollars. So that's great news that we will have the vote next week, potentially on Thursday. And we will be done, my friends, with the House, and your recon will be heading over to the Senate. Heading over to the Senate will be a recon that'll pay you across all these incredible programs about $15,000. When third stimulus first manifested itself, I had a very almost exclusive rundown, a framework of what was going to be in third stimulus in early January this year. I told viewers at the time, looking at this rundown, this framework, I think I can get you about $15,000 across this recon. When third stimulus in about February became law, I said again, I think I can get you about $15,000 across all these credible programs. It was not the case. The average viewer from this channel got $45,000 from third stimulus, and they're still getting the money. And many viewers got $100,000 or more from third stimulus. When I look at forced stimulus, the same programs that paid viewers $45,000 are coming back under forced stimulus that paid them. The same programs that paid for $45,000 on the third stimulus are coming back under forced stimulus and more. So get that pen, paper ready. I want you to get those incredible sums of checks. I'm ecstatic. You should be as well. We're going to start with paid leave. Paid leave got in there. What is paid leave and family leave? You have to stay home because of a birth of a child in the household or death or illness in the household, not COVID. So, for example, your son has the flu. You have to stay home for a week. Or you sprain your ankle during a pickup basketball game with the buddies on a Saturday morning. You're out of work for 2 weeks. It's covered. How much is it? It's a lot. Under third stimulus, when they propose it, $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. $800 a week if you make $35,000 or more per year. $400 a week if you make $15,000 or more per year. How many weeks? 4 weeks. Up to 4 weeks per year. And here's the best part of this incredible provision. Everyone. All income levels, all types of workers. So if you're a 1099 Uber Lyft driver, make only $20,000 a year, your wife is pregnant, it's covered. If you're a department store manager and you make $150,000 per year, it is covered. Wow, that is great news. And that is the first of 3 add-ons last week that got in there that I said was going to go into this recon. The second add-on is SALT. What is SALT? When you go to pay your state tax return, you pay taxes. Then that's the amount that you paid in the state taxes, you then can deduct as a deduction on your federal tax return. Well, there's a problem. Under the Trump tax code of 2017, you can only deduct up to $10,000. Gothenheimer and the moderate Democrats got this provision in there. It's great, especially for New York and New Jersey, where there's big state taxes. Now you'll be able to deduct up to $72,500 of what you pay in state and local taxes on your federal tax return. Wow. They got in there $40 billion of job training. Definitely great for everyone who wants to learn how to make me some bacon. Yeah, can you just get that job training right away? They got Medicaid gap fix in there. It's huge. What is this? When Obamacare was rolled out, several Republican states, 12 of them, offered it but refused to pay for it. Now the Democrats got a workaround plan. That workaround plan was they will provide subsidized private insurance to low-income people in those states. Wow. Immigration reform in there. No checks for immigrants. No checks for immigrants in the recon. No checks for immigrants in the roads and bridges. Fake news. Then we have housing assistance. Okay, so this is where it gets very exciting. Housing was in third stimulus. Rent, utilities, mortgage assistance. Viewers got 3 rounds of it. They got 1, a second, and a third round. That was when housing was $45 billion under third stimulus. Under fourth stimulus, it's $150 billion. Oh boy, what is it? It's rent, utilities, and mortgage assistance. Definitely need this because later in this video, I'll be covering how rent is going to go up next year. You need this rent assistance now. Then, I've been asking viewers, if you have very complicated, very, very complicated questions, send them to me on private message if you wish on social media, and I'll feature them live on air. Well, here are some of the questions I've been getting. First, the home repairs. Low-income community home. So, one viewer said multiple repairs. Yes. Then another viewer said any particular type of repairs. That viewer asked about a roof. That's the type of repair they're talking about. Then the weatherize your home. Yes, what exactly you think it would be does not have to be low-income community. And then finally, the purchase price of your first home. One viewer said, what is first? I was married before, bought a home, now I'm single. We have to see the language. Home, it would be single-family residence, but does it have to be brick and mortar? We don't think so, but that's for Ryan. And then some people have been asking what type of income level. We don't know yet. Then in-home healthcare, free in-home healthcare for my seniors and people on disabilities. Great. Pell's grant, $550 front-end checks right away for people on Pell's. So some people have saying I was on Pell's 2 years ago. No, there's nothing retro in this recon. $12,500 back-end checks for people for the purchase price of an electric vehicle. Wow. U.S. shop, union shop. So people have been asking for clarification for this. This is electric, not hybrid, only electric, and only U.S. union shop. So that would be Ford, Chrysler, GM, and all their divisions. It's up to $12,500 back-end check. People have been asking, can you give an example? So the Chevy Volt is one of the cheapest electric cars out there that qualifies. It's about $30,000, so this would bring it down to about $20,000 approximately. Then $65 per month per child checks for food when they're not in school, and it is huge. People have been asking me how old. I think it's up through high school. That brings us to the third add-on, which is cheaper prescription medication. Wow, what a game changer. I asked viewers last Saturday on Mornings LALATE how much you're paying for insulin you're on Medicare. Mark's wife, $900. Other viewers, $500, $700. This will now be $35. Wow. The big issue, Medicare. When established 20 years ago, Medicare's charter agreement said they could not negotiate prices of medication with Big Pharma. For 20 years, Big Pharma blocked any change to this rule. They loved it. They could stick it to you if any price they wanted. They had 15 paid lobbyists. Now it is over. Why? Because of great negotiations with the President of the United States with Kristen Sinema 2 Wednesdays ago. He picked up the phone, called Kristen Sinema, said, you got to do this. Now she's doing it, and she's blessing the rest of the recon. What will involve? All medication will be cheaper. 20 medication will be cheaper immediately right after this becomes after this becomes law. Big Pharma and Medicare will have to negotiate in good faith for those 20 medications right away. It'll ramp up to 30 medications by the year 2028. The price escalation per year is not more than the rate of inflation. And the medication is the most expensive medication there is, like diabetes, like cancer, and arthritis. Medicare Part B and Medicare Part D. Chuck Schumer says he's going to come back and do more about this next year, make it better. And Sinema praised it. Peter says it's really good for seniors. And Skikowski Wyden praised it as well. Two provisions likely to potentially be removed by the Senate parliamentarian from the recon. What are those provisions? The first one is immigration reform. The second one is paid leave. Who is the Senate parliamentarian? Government official, not a Democrat, not a Republican. Her job is to determine under the Senate rules what can go by recon, what can not go by recon. She previously ruled immigration reform cannot, so I think it's coming out. Paid leave, I don't know. That's a 50-50 on that one. What's big is that when you're looking at these programs, it pays about $15,000 across the board in a House bill, but that House bill is going to the Senate next week. And the senators say, we got major gaps we got to fill. Those major gaps means a lot more checks to you. So we're just starting at $15,000 on this House side before we get over to the Senate side. Here we go. Bernie Sanders says it's a good bill. Best bill since the 1960s, but there's major gaps in them. When asked, what are you going to do with those major gaps? Are you going to add stuff? Of course I am. Dental and vision. And he says, we're not going to stop till those provisions are added. Ron Wyden says the deal's not done till the Senate acts, and he says there's a significant amount of work to be done. Senator Coons, AOC Omar, Jalapal, Senator Schumer, Senator Murphy all say that provisions are going to be added on the Senate side. All right, so get that pen and paper ready. Time to go over some more of those checks in this incredible recon. Here you go. Front-end checks, universal pre-K. 1 year of pre-kindergarten for 3 to 4 year olds. Free front-end check. Child care, back-end check. Child tax credit, the CTC, front-end check, 1 more year. There's $3,600 to $3,000. I show it $60,000 or less per household. Some of the notes show $150,000. We will watch that one. Earned income tax credit, 1 more year, back-end. Home health care, likely a covered benefit, but we don't know for certain. Medicare benefits, that's the hearing aid, that is likely a check or a voucher for it. Then the money for the housing, yes, we got the rent, the utilities, the mortgages, the home repairs, the weatherize your home, and also the purchase price of your first home. Pell's Grant, $550 checks for my parent Pell's recipients, and they're $65 per month per child when not in school. So what provisions are going in on the Senate side besides their advocacy and our advocacy for that IRS stimulus check or checks? Well, Bernie says dental, vision, and also Medicare eligibility. He says, well, if this country and that people have no teeth in their mouth and they cannot see and they cannot hear. Let's go over the details. First, lowering the eligibility age of Medicare. Bernie's going to try to do this again. It did not survive in this House negotiations. He wants it to drop from 65 to 55. Bob Casey wants it to drop from 65 to 50. Next, dental and vision. Dental was last on this recon at checks of $850, front-end checks, fell out. Bernie wants 10 years of full benefits. Then he defaulted to 3 years of full benefits. But at least an $850 check would cover cleans plus something else. Not enough for big procedures. But the obvious one is the vision. Bernie wants an eye exam and also a pair of glasses per year, $50 and $100 150, send it out as a check. Very easy. If you are a senior, I think that's going to go in there as well. Which brings us to some of the calculations. Some of the numbers not lining up. Yeah, some of the numbers don't make sense. So, CTC, I show it 1 year at $60,000 or less household income. I don't show it 150. I don't show the housing at 150 billion. I show it 175 billion. And then in home healthcare, I show up to 200 billion. I'll have more about this in my commentary coming up later in a second, but let's turn over to some student loan debt forgiveness. Student loan debt could be forgiven at $10,000. The president has forgave 3 rounds before it. The Democrats should take the $10,000. President forgave student loan debts for people who became disabled after graduation. People forgave student loan debts for people who went to work in the nonprofit sector 10 years after graduation. And the president has now forgiven student loan debts for people who went to work in the public sector, city, county, state, federal government, 10 years after graduation. The offer to forgive $10,000 of student loan debt on top of that would go by executive order, wouldn't close it out, should be taken by the Democrats. What's going on? I think they should take it. COLA, your benefits are going up 5.9% next year. But get ready for fifth stimulus. Fifth stimulus would raise your benefits up again right after that. If you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, then apply a new benchmark. The new benchmark is inflation. That's 2 lifts ups after 5.9%. You need it. They're going to remove the asset cap, remove the income cap, and remove the marriage penalty. And love is going to win, and you'll be able to admire your longtime love interests. Finally, if you haven't become a member, what are you doing? The membership link is under this video. Become a member today and get that incredible newsletter that comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, that features the big money under first, second, and third stimulus. The average viewer of this channel has gotten $45,000 from third stimulus. Have you? I want you to get this big money. It also features what's previewed under fourth stimulus. Become a member today and get that newsletter. It comes out 7 p.m. daily, Monday through Friday, from the YouTube alert system and the LALATE alert system. And with that, let's go into the final commentary about a little bit of what went on with that CPI yesterday, what the president's reaction is, and what Nancy's reaction to it as well. A lot of details and a lot of elements, and it starts right now with the strange and confusing nuances of what the president's doing with the situation. But first, let's understand what happened. Back in July of this year, I started talking about inflation. I said it's going to go up to about 5% by the end of this year. Jeremy Siegel, Wharton School professor I featured in July, he said 20%. At the time, Jay Powell, Federal Reserve, said 1 or 2%. Janet Yellen said 1 or 2%. I said not true. It's going to be higher. I said at least 5. By late summer, I said no longer do I think it's going to be transitory or temporary. I think it's going to be a little bit more prolonged. Well, the number that came in yesterday tracks inflation, meaning year to date, compared to a year ago. What was the number? It wasn't 2, it wasn't 5, it was 6.9%. Yeah, inflation is running hot. And what's important to know is that you can see inflation before the number comes out. You see it at the pump, you see it at the supermarket checkout. And everyone knew that inflation was coming in. So let's look at the number and let's go down on the breakdown of where the numbers showed. Again, this is the Consumer Price Index and looks at year to date. Year to date, these were the rises. Fuel went up 59.1% compared to a year ago. Wow. Energy went up 30%. Used cars went up 26%. New cars went up 9.8%. Food went up 5.3%. But here's the catch. Meat, poultry, fish, and eggs went up 12% compared to a year ago. CPI on total, 6.2% year to date. And what's also interesting is that the salary hourly wages did not go up as fast as that 6.2% number. All right, so what is causing this? This is being caused by something called the supply chain. The supply chain refers to being able to supply goods in the economy, like meat or canned vegetables. Why is the supply issue an issue? During the pandemic, manufacturing shut down, shipping shut down, world economy shut down, not only here, but overseas. And so, for example, you want to get that particular good out of China, their factory shut down during the pandemic. So with their shutting down, the good did not manufacture, the good did not ship, the good did not land in a port, the good did not get on a truck, and the good did not get into a store. When we came off a pandemic, they started turning on the factories, making the product, but the product still had not shipped, or gone on a truck or gone in the store. So everything is backed up. And that backup is not something that just started up yesterday. We've known about this supply chain issue for a while. Where are we right now? Overseas, the factories are running at 300% capacity. So they will be over capacity by earlier mid next year, meaning we will balance out. There'll be too much product, which will soften out the burden of the demand. What's also an issue? Labor. During the pandemic, people were not working because of a lockdown. After the lockdown was over, wages went up. How do the wages compare to the inflation numbers? The wages show that they did not go up as fast as the price of goods. So maybe your salary went up $2 an hour. The food didn't go up that ratio. It went up a lot more. So the wages did not go up as much as the food. Another issue is that a lot of the unemployment stimulus from third stimulus is still going out, and people are still living off of that stimulus and not returning to the workplace. And so there is no shortage of jobs. There's a surplus of jobs that people are not returning back to because they still have some savings from the last stimulus package. So what did the president say about the situation yesterday? The president addressed the American people and said, we have a problem. Good. You want him to know and mention the problem exists. Number two, he said, I empathize for your trouble and the big prices you're paying. Good. Empathy is very important. Number three, he said the roads and bridges helps us. No, it doesn't. So here's the problem. He addressed the situation, he had empathy, but his solution is off message. Now, I got it. He has a win with the roads and bridges. This coming Monday, he's going to have a big media event with everyone there and all the pageantry of the roads and bridges. The roads and bridges does not solve inflation. The roads and bridges infrastructure bill is a bill that does things very slowly over 10 years. It does nothing between now and February of next year. It's a very slow-moving bill. That's why bipartisan support came for it, because it's very, very slow-moving. Yesterday, the House Ways and Means Committee Twitter handle put out a tweet that said, the roads and bridges can create a lot of jobs. Not now. And jobs is not the issue. We don't have a problem with jobs. We have a problem with people taking jobs. So the problem is that the president says he addresses the situation, he has empathy, but he has not presented the solution for the problem. Part of the issues is he has ability to solve some of these problems. The Federal Reserve has a reserve of energy, fuel, gasoline, that it can release into the economy. It's a reserve. The government owns it. It can release it. That would bring the cost of gasoline down at the pump. That's the first type of thing that could help you. In Los Angeles, gasoline is $5 to $6 a gallon for basic. So this would bring down prices. The other thing is helping the supply chain issues. For ports, trucking, all these type of issues are very much at hand. But the labor shortage is also a very big issue. Now let's compare the inflation that you now understand with the recons. Fifth stimulus and inflation, 100% on point. Apples and apples. When we talk about fifth stimulus, we talk about seniors compared to how much they get in benefits compared to the economy. At issue is before the pandemic. Back in 2019, seniors are not being paid enough on benefits, or people on disabilities not being paid enough on benefits compared to what the economy looked like in 2019. Then we had lockdown. They were not being paid enough. Now we have inflation. Same thing. People who have their jobs, $2 more per hour, seniors who have a 5.9% COLA raise coming next year, still not enough based upon how much these goods are now charging you. So that is why fifth stimulus is absolutely on point for inflation. It addresses the issue of inflation right off the board. Fourth stimulus. Does fourth stimulus fix inflation? Not really as a whole, but one program does. Let's go over it. When one of the biggest issues of inflation that is part of the CPI component is rent. Has rent gone up in the last year? Absolutely, astronomically. Is it expected to go up next year as well, 2022? Yes. Not so much for housing prices, but absolutely for rent. Rent is too darn expensive and is going out of control. And that is why the rent assistance in the recon, fourth stimulus recon, is absolutely on point. Also, so much the buying the first home. Because guess what? The rent goes up, harder to make the rent because it costs more to pay the rent. You have less money because you're spending more on milk and eggs and gasoline. Harder to make the rent, you need the rent. That is why the rent part, the housing part of the recon is absolutely on point for the rest of the recon. But some of the parts of the recon not really on point for dealing with inflation. You remember from 2020, Mitch McConnell and the Republicans often said, you don't want too much stimulus because the economy will be too hot. Well, that is why you don't want to say the whole recon solves inflation, because it doesn't. There are two bodies of government that can solve inflation: the president and the Congress, and also the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve has not started tapering yet. What's going on? The Federal Reserve, led by Jay Powell, started buying mortgage-backed instruments when the pandemic hit, because the Federal Reserve wanted to make sure there was enough cash flowing in the economy to make sure that banks would not go under. There's no shortage of cash now, folks. No shortage of cash. So the Federal Reserve is under battlement at the moment for not tapering sooner, for not easing up on buying those instruments and floating cash to this economy. The president and the Congress have different instruments to deal with inflation. But the issue at hand is supply chain. Supply chain is amplified by a lack of people willing to work. Those lack of people willing to go into those particular jobs. There's 4 million jobs sitting right out there. People aren't taking them. They're on the lower end paying jobs. They aren't taking them. Those people, those jobs not being filled, those products not being shipped, those ports not being emptied, those truckers not being able to, not enough truckers to deliver the product, means that the shelves won't have those type of products, means the products are going up. What's important when you're talking about inflation is inflation gets worse before it gets better. And you see the inflation before these numbers were released. You could see it yourself for the last 3 months. And guess what? I did not see $5 to $6 gasoline a month ago. So when I see the fuel has gone up 59% since last year, I got to tell you, I think the report for fuel is going to go up even higher next month, because I'm seeing higher numbers now for fuel than I saw a month ago. I see higher price now for chicken, for example, here in Los Angeles than I saw a month before. So this is why these issues need to be addressed. Good that the president is on message recognizing this there. Good that he has empathy. Not so good that he has not had a clear issue to address the situation, because you have to. And with that, the excitement continues later today. This show would automatically take you to the 1 o'clock afternoon show. And then we got a big new afternoon show at 3 o'clock. We got a big new evening show at 5 o'clock. A lot of new shows, a lot of new news, and a lot of breaking news across the board. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next on Afternoons LA.